Hello, Sarah. Thank you for watching all of us. South Africa, hello.
Yes, hit the thumbs up.
Hit the
African hair
thumbs
gods on
up.
it.
All right, give it about 2 more minutes and then we will get started. Toronto, somebody just did a big chop. Congratulations. I almost got inducted to the Beast. No, ma'am, I'm not touching that. I'm not, I'm not touching that. Sorry.
Is this how we're starting the night? Oh,
I'm not. I'm
wow.
sorry. I can't. I'm not going there tonight.
Where did the heat come
Am I
from?
the only one who's lost? What's BGC cult?
I'm not. I'm not. We're not going there. I'm sorry.
I'm weak.
I'm just. I'm
You
not.
don't wanna
I
know.
can't go there tonight.
Oh my gosh.
Let me let.
Whew.
Okay. All right. We'll give it about 1 more minute.
All right.
Fine, natural. We'll have to cue you in another time. That would be all day. We just can't go there tonight.
That sounds like a rabbit hole.
It was.
It does.
It's one of those stories. It's one of those stories where you're like, I got to give you the background story, and then the background story, and then we can get into it now. Like, there's so much
That's
history.
right.
All
Too
right,
much.
ladies, we are going to get started. Welcome, everyone. As you guys know, as I said before, I want this to be as open and as honest as possible. There is no judgment here. So basically, the reason why I just wanted to have this conversation is everyone live on their respective channels? Yes, they are. Yes, we are, Narada. So basically, if you did not know what was going on, there was a particular young woman who decided to make a couple of comments when it came to an event. So basically, what she was saying is that she does not want you to bring your natural hair to her event. And then she proceeds to just start listing off certain events that it's not appropriate. Basically, what she was saying is like, it's fine for being in your house, picking up your kids, going to the playground, you know, the common things that people do. When it comes to, or the way that I interpret it was, when you are supposed to be your most beautiful, when you are supposed to have your makeup on, when you are dressed to the nines, you should not have your natural hair. Now, my reaction, and we'll go around the room, but my reaction the very first time that I heard it, when it went viral, I was upset. But I also did a reaction video, and I thank y'all for the support on that. But as I kept watching it, so I could do my reaction video, I was just actually sad because that is a very sad outlook for her to have, because she is a very beautiful young woman. If anybody else wants to chime in about their reaction when they first saw it, or when you first heard her say it.
Yeah, I was shocked. I mean, I feel like natural hair, obviously, it's very much deep rooted in historical ramifications. And when I first saw it, my gut reaction was, "Wow, that's extremely ignorant," right? And I'm not mincing my words here because that is what I felt, right? But I understand that there might be cultural differences, but even so, I do believe that natural hair and rocking your natural hair is very much inextricably linked to self-esteem and self-confidence. And for someone to say something like that, to me, is a shining light on how that person feels internally with their self-esteem and their self-confidence. It can't be too high, right? So yeah, I'll just leave it there because I know everyone else has so many other thoughts.
I was gonna say, just on my part, when I first saw that, I guess the first word that I can say is frustration.
Yeah.
I feel like we've come a long way as Black women in trying to empower each other, trying to create our own little space where we can talk about things that matter to us, and natural hair being one of them. However, after sort of internalizing it and listening a little bit closer, I could relate, and I think a lot of women can actually relate to being in that place, or at that place where she is, where you feel some kind of way, you feel a little bit insecure. Everything that's around you is saying, look different, have different hair, have straighter hair, have a looser curl. So it's almost like anything that is not really the standard of beauty. So yes, I'm frustrated that okay, we've come, like, when did the natural hair community start? We've been here for yeah, for a while, and yet obviously this is an indication of how much work there still needs to be done, and also because we're bombarded with all this messaging that does not really applaud our kind of hair. It's sort of like an ongoing thing that you have to keep reminding yourself and saying, look, we are beautiful, we are worthy, and we will be seen. So I was frustrated, but I sort of, could relate a little bit. And I know a lot of women have come out and say, I actually felt like that at some point in my life. So
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah, that was my first reaction. That sadness, I would say,
yeah.
right from the get go. I wasn't really upset by it because I've been there, and not even like that messaging has been told passed down to me. Like I've
Okay.
seen family members will say, "You got to do something with your hair. We're going out, so you got to do all these things. The hot iron comes out, whew, all the things to change your hair so that we can go somewhere
Yeah.
that's deemed, I don't know, that's not the mall. Even if it's the mall, I don't know, girl, we got to comb that hair out. So there's that. And for her to still be there, because I've been there and I know how much work I had to do to like unlearn
To
that,
get there.
to get to a point where I'm like, my hair is beautiful. I'm beautiful the way that I am. Everything about me is beautiful. Like I don't need to get that to allow society to feed me that message no more. That's very difficult. So for her
Yeah.
to still be there, that was my why I felt really sad.
Okay. And that kind of segues us into where I want to start, which is basically from the beginning. So just like your experience, I know Jen, you talked about it, and Corley, you talked about it, and I'll just start as far as like when I say start from the beginning. So for me, that was not my situation. I did grow up in a predominantly white area, especially when I was younger. So I think for me, my mother, she never told me that, being a young white girl was better than being a young black girl. But because of the area that I grew up in, I think she put a little bit more emphasis on that. And the way that I was raised is that your complexion is beautiful just the way it is. Your hair is beautiful just the way that it is. And I really appreciate that because for my story, she would always do my hair. I had this one particular aunt on my father's side who kept asking her, when were you going to get her hair done? So my mother goes out of town for a business meeting and she takes me to get my hair relaxed. Which, when my mother came home, it was not a very good homecoming. So my hair was already relaxed. There was nothing to do.
Yeah.
So then she just tries to take care of my hair the best way possible. And she was like, "You're still beautiful." So in, let's see, 2012 of December, so December 22nd of 2012, that's when I decided to go natural and I have not looked back. So me
Yeah.
growing up, it was your hair is beautiful just the way it is until my aunt intervened.
Yeah.
That's a
Wow.
very
That's
different
Wow.
perspective, girl. I can't imagine that life.
Yeah. So I mean, it was my mother
to it
was
then.
yeah, she was fine with the way my hair was. My mother went out of town and my aunt did what she did, and that's basically where my love of natural hair and my complexion came from.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a similar sort of, I guess, childhood, if you may, and I guess in some ways it's due to the fact that I was also raised with my natural hair. So my mom wore her natural hair, my sister wore her natural hair, and she encouraged us as well to wear, like for me to wear my natural hair. However, I can't say that I was not a little bit perplexed and curious about everything that was around me. We
Right.
did
Yeah.
go to a
Mhm.
school, yeah, like my high school also encouraged us to wear natural hair. So most of the people around me growing up in high school, particularly, really had their natural hair. So it wasn't really like you didn't get shade or people shaming you for that, etc. However, when I graduated from high school, that's when it was like, okay, you know I'm grown, so I can do
Yeah.
whatever I want. And then you get the messaging, the encouragement, like, relax your hair or texturize your hair. That was a big thing. But I guess I didn't really grow up feeling like I need to be that, but I grew up seeing it with other people. And for me, being a young child, the worst experience, I guess, with regards to hair was the visit to the salon where it was always negative. It was always painful. It would end in tears. Half of my length would be on the floor. I was considered someone with long hair, but it was really just shoulder length hair. You know, oh, your hair is so long, and your hair is so long. And I feel like, oh my gosh, this is good. Yeah, but then coming like rewinding now, I'm just like, actually, that was pretty average. Like that was just shoulder length hair. So yeah, I do have bad experiences with the salon, and having my hair ripped out. And of course, I'm obviously just saying this to say that a lot of people are only learning now to look after their hair. So I guess, yeah, in that way, I guess it was good and bad because I wore my hair natural, but I also had the salon experience that none of us really want.
That's so interesting. I definitely had that like similar salon experiences, having really tight curls, horsey hair, and
Yeah.
I avoided those like the plague. No, I think there was a point in my life where I was like, Jen, I'm just never gonna go to the salon anymore. Like that's just it. Like my experience is that a lot of maybe it's just the fact that we're still all learning natural hair, you know. And I think of my mother, she had a relaxer and she was taking care of my hair. My hair is super tight, but now that I'm learning or know my mom being natural, her hair is super loose. It's like 3C, probably 3B, and it's fine. Why did you even have a relaxer? Anyways, I digress. But so she didn't know her hair and she didn't know how to do my hair. So you think about how it's been going on for generations.
Right.
But my experience with other Black women in my hair was the same thing. They didn't know what to do with it. So it was the same type of experiences that you were talking about, Coily, where half your hair is on the floor. Like you came for a silk press and 5 hours later you're exhausted, your hair is still poofy. Like, okay, I'm just gonna go home. Thank you. Or you walk out and it's over. It's just been terrible experiences. So I was like, I have to learn what to do with my hair at some point because, no one else is going to teach me.
Right.
That's right.
And that's
right.
I guess one of the thoughts that started my natural hair journey, I guess.
Natural hair journey. And for you, Fine Natural, how were you raised? What was the attitude for you in your family around natural hair?
Yeah, I grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood, similar to yourself, and I around a lot of women. So there's my grandmother, my mom, and my 3 aunts, and everyone wore weaves. Actually, they all wore.
Okay.
My grandma, with the exception of my grandma, she had a nice jerry curl, and so I always saw her in this jerry curl. And now, like in this moment, I'm starting to realize that like that was my first brush with somebody who is, really embracing their natural hair. It was short and she just had it compact and she would just rock her gorgeous look. And then my aunts and my mom, they would wear weaves, but it would be weaves that have texture. And I don't know how they found that back then because it wasn't readily available. So they'd have the big curls and they would have the big like waves and something that could blend well with the natural hair. So for me, my thing was like I wanted length. Like I saw my mom in lengths, I saw my aunts in lengths, and I wanted lengths. But then of course I was in this predominantly white neighborhood. I'd go to school, see white girls, and they got the flow. And I was the one who started saying to my mom, I want like this hair. And so at 8, I was like begging her to get a relaxer. She finally did. My hair was never flowing because I've got
8. You had a relaxer at 8?
At 8. I started begging her at 7. She gave. I shouldn't say 8. I begged her at 7. She gave it to me at 9. Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy, right? So I was the one who wanted it. And I stayed like that with broken hair. It was really, really terrible. Like maybe this short here, this long here. Like it was just a hot mess, right? Went to undergrad and was like living in these weaves. Like I would not see the light of day without weaves or something on top of my head. And finally the natural hair movement started moving. And I felt very, inspired and empowered to stop relaxing because I wanted the length. So I was like, I'm going to stop relaxing my hair. I'm going to grow it out and then I'm going to get the relaxer again. And
no, not the relaxer again.
And here I am, you
The
know.
story was just getting good.
So wait a minute. All of y'all were young. Max, Singletary, Sawyer, 11, 8. My goodness. That's so well, you know what though?
I
With
was
my
8. I was 8 as well.
really.
Yeah. Can I just say that I had a turning point when I migrated from Africa to Australia some, 15 years ago. And I remember walking
Great.
into a salon here, and the lady actually came to approach me at the door to stop me and say, "We don't do that kind of hair here." To
No
turn me
way.
away. Yes. And I went to, I think it was South Africa, Cape Town, I believe. And again, similarly, and you'd expect in Africa that, this, you can just walk into a salon. And I just thought, okay, I'll just go get a wash and blow dryer. But nah, same situation. The lady was like, no, we don't do that kind of hair here. And
What does
those
that
two
mean, that kind
situations
of hair?
traumatized. Yes, those
What
two
did they do
situations,
there?
they do a looser curl. So your type threes, within that range, and they have specific salons. Okay, I guess due to appetite, things are still divided in certain areas. So you find that there's some salons that will do all hair types. I think now, however, back in the day, you'd have the more colored people, looser textured salons. White people salons, and then the four C's or the kinkier, tighter textures, which I didn't know because I don't live in South Africa. But then I'd gone there for holiday, so I thought, oh, this is Africa. I'm sure everybody and anyone can do my hair. And I just walked in proudly and confidently. I was shattered. I was traumatized. That actually made me go looking for what am I going to do with my hair, because yeah, I was struggling at that point.
The pain is real. It really is. Like, it's just interesting how so many of us have had that experience. I remember like going back to like 2011, and I feel like the first people I saw rocking natural hair online, they were all Black Americans. And then it kind of spread to Canada, and then it kind of spread to UK, and then it just seems global at this point.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting. Like, I wonder if it's kind of still more so embraced in North America than it is elsewhere. I don't know.
That's very interesting.
Definitely started in North America, and everybody caught on with the fire. So, I mean, in Africa, you do find people with natural hair. However, a lot of people are actually still wearing weaves and, you know, relaxing their hair pretty much.
And that was kind of that was this is gelling very well because that's what I wanted to move into next, P or Coily Diaries. This is and y'all have the outline. So
Yep.
a lot of people in the comments, I know for my reaction video for this particular young woman who made the statements, a lot of people, I believe she's Nigerian, if I'm correct. Okay. So
So,
Coily, a lot of people were saying that her outlook is cultural. Do
yeah.
you agree with that? And I don't know if I'm asking it correctly, like cultural meaning like, I don't want to say indoctrination, but that's kind of what it is. But
Yes.
is that how I guess you could say Nigerian women are being
I think,
raised? Is it
yes. I'm not
is
gonna,
it
I guess I just want to start by saying I'm not
together?
gonna, yeah, I don't want to
She is
speak
Nigerian.
for
Okay.
all of Nigerians or
Okay.
Africans in general, because I think different cultures, different countries. And I definitely don't want, if Chloe ever watches this, to feel like this is a bashing session where we're going to
No.
badmouth her. It's
Right.
really
Yeah, it's
just
not
a
we're not trying to do
conversation.
that. Right.
Yeah. So I just want that to sort of be out there. However, Nigerians dress up.
They
When it's an event,
they
they don't
do,
come to play.
yes.
Yeah, they dress up really well, and part of the dressing up includes like hair. Like hair is a big thing. You got to look
Okay.
slick, which understandably, if you're gonna go to a really formal event, for example, then you're expected to come dressed up like that.
Okay.
Having it as a culture, as in having weaves or wig as a culture, I guess it's part of the culture in that we've been colonized and made to think that's what dressing up means.
Okay.
So if I rock up like this, I mean, are you going to pick up your kids or what's going on? So that's the attitude there. However, if you have that Brazilian, if you have that flowy weave, that frontal, that's considered, she's put together. So it's not necessarily that it's the culture per se, as in cultural. It's just that engraved, like you're saying, indoctrination, and also just as a result of colonization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of our parents and grandparents grew up in the era where you want to be closer to white as much as possible, because sometimes it was a matter of survival. And I
Correct.
don't know if you know, there's a, what is it called? I think it's called the pencil test in South Africa during those days, during apartheid. If you're a colored child, they'll do the pencil test where they'll put a pencil in your hair.
Oh
And
my God.
if it glides out, then you can live your life as a white person. However, if it kind of stays in the hair, then you're black and you're gonna live your life as black. It's just racism and a complete annihilation and elimination of a group of people. So
Let
it's a
me
toxic
put
culture, and we have taken it as the norm. However, yeah, I feel like it's a lot of mental, like a mindset that needs to probably
Yeah.
be revisited.
okay. So
Well, the thing
Julie,
is,
go
well, I
ahead.
was gonna say I grew up in Haiti,
Okay.
so um, that's the other side of the world, and that's the messaging that I grew up hearing. It was the
Okay.
fact that you need to change yourself closer to white, the better, right? We think about Haiti is pretty diverse in terms of skin tones, and there are people in Haiti that you're like, oh, you look like a white person, and then there's black people. There's a whole range, and even the lighter you are in Haiti, you're gonna get treated differently. Your
Right.
hair may be just a little, I don't
It's
know, curly.
everywhere.
You're gonna get treated differently, and
Mm.
so it's the same messaging with someone like me, where your hair is tight, so it's like you got to change it. You have to do something else with it, and I say this because you're talking about a Nigerian perspective. Never been to Africa, but we've been brought to North America, and Haiti was colonized by France. So there is the French in Haiti, which is the
Mhm.
whole conversation with they are, I guess, what you want to look like or dress like or talk like or be like, etc. Um, which in as a result, if you have natural hair, you will perm it. So growing up, there was a lot. Most people like that was the goal. You are going to get a perm. Woo, thank God, right? You
Right.
can't wait
Promise
for
you.
it.
Mm.
It was like a
Yeah,
graduation.
it was a graduation thing, and I can tell you when I first got my perm, I was 8 years old. And it was my first communion, so it's oh wow, that you gotta look good. So they perm my hair. Didn't really care for it. I didn't want it. I've never really seen my hair as being terrible, even though that's the message that was being into me, so to speak. So eventually you believe it, but me
Right.
as a person, like I never thought anything was wrong with my hair. So different part of the world. This is why I'm bringing the culture thing back into it. And depending on where you're from, I think it is a cultural thing. It is how you part of
Okay.
the culture is it's changing your hair. If you're really dark, you're automatically treated differently.
And
Yeah.
so let me just highlight, I put it up before. I believe it's Julie adds, I'm Nigerian, born and bred in Nigeria, now living in Canada. And I can comfortably say that it is a cultural thing. It is ingrained from childhood. So,
It
and
is.
I remember, I think I was in Orangeburg, South Carolina. It was my mother, myself. I went there with a girlfriend and her mother's mother, so her grandma, made a comment to my mother and said that I would have been adopted solely based off of my hair. No
Wow.
background check. You don't want to know if I'm crazy. You don't want to know nothing. I would have been adopted solely because of my hair. And then
Mm.
when you would, you adopted me, I would have been bald, because you would have been messing in my hair and not know how to take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
But, for me, my mother is Jamaican. She came over here when she was 10. My father is African American. So for me, when it comes to culture and even within my own family, whether it be my mother's side, whether it be my father's side, it's
Yeah.
always for me, it's always that good hair comment. And I always ask people, what do you mean by that? And of course, I'm not going to get into all of it, but of course, when we start talking about the good hair, people always want to know what my lineage and what my race is. Am I 100% black? People always question that. And it's, in order for you to have good hair, in order for you to have long hair, you cannot be 100% black. So I think for myself, will I say it's cultural? I would probably say it's cultural, but it's also sometimes I kind of feel like I have to prove, I guess you could
Yeah,
say, my blackness.
Mm.
yeah,
Someone will ask me, "Am I black?" I'll say yes, and they'll say, "Are you sure?"
yeah,
And it's like, my mother is Jamaican, my father's African American. He's from Martinsville, Virginia. So for me, I think more so for me culturally is it's always me having to say or me having to reiterate the fact that I am black, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
was
I'm
just
just
gonna. Yeah, you go, Jen.
Well, different perspective. Honestly, that's what it is. Different culture.
Yeah, different culture, different perspective. That has always been a question. I've always gotten that question since I was little.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I was just gonna say that sometimes I feel like there's certain things that are engraved in our society and in our culture, and that does not necessarily mean that it's right. There's
Right.
certain things in my own culture that are not related to here that are engraved for generations, but they're not right.
No.
Um, so I feel like the conversation really does need to, start around, okay, we have grown up like this. This is what we know.
Need to
This is what
acknowledge
our
it.
parents
Right.
know. However, do we want our kids to have
Oh,
to deal with it?
mhm.
that's a real question. This is where you got
Yeah.
to stop these generational trauma.
Yep.
Yeah.
Generation.
So we don't want to just continue it because it's a culture.
Hmm.
We want to try and improve on our culture. And I'll always honor and respect what our parents went through and our grandparents with slavery and colonization and all that, because, I mean, we're just trying to survive, let alone here. So
Yeah.
I believe that a younger generation, what we should be doing is taking whatever tools they've given us from that and improving on that to allow the next generation to do better, rather than just sitting in it and saying, this is the culture, it is
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah. Oh, there's so many different ways we can tackle this one.
Yeah, 100%.
Forget hair. I think.
Corley, you like we're aligned. We're here. We're here because that was getting ready to be my next question. So my next question, or just the next topic to bring up, how did we get here? How did we all get here? Whether it be the young woman who made the comment, and whether it just because here's the thing,
Mhm.
we're pointing her out because that segment or that clip went viral, but by no means is she the only one that has that
No,
sentiment. So
absolutely
so
not.
my question is, how did we get here?
Mm.
We know slavery. Okay, we're aware of the slavery. Then we know the Madam C.J. Walker era. She created the hair system. For
Yeah.
me, when I think of the Madam C.J. Walker era, I think that was for your livelihood. That was for you to get a job. That was for you to provide for your
Right.
family.
Right.
Then we
Mm.
start getting into the 1960s, 1970s when it's Black Power and we have the Afro and all of that. That was a political statement, and we're not going to conform to Eurocentric standards, Eurocentric beauty standards. And then after that, it kind of like went away, and we started with the weaves and the wigs and things like that. How did we get here?
I think that this is a remnant. I know you mentioned slavery, but we have to remember, right? And perhaps this is my the lens that I carry all the time, being the work that I do. But we were physically enslaved as a people for 400 years. Like there comes a psychological piece with that, and I think that's the remnants that we're working with today. And so, just looking at like the Black Power movement, and the very intentional movement to unwind that with the disco era and all that, and here we are, trying to pull back and reclaim our naturalness, our god-given beautiful hair, and who we are as a people. That psychological element still needs to be undone.
Yeah.
Just going back to initial reactions with the video, like I was hurt, but I was also annoyed because and again, like this isn't to call out Chloe,
Yeah.
but it's not just Chloe, right? It's
Right.
so many other people who engage in that conversation. And I remember as early as like high school where people would be like, oh, your hair is nappy. Oh, get it done. Like just it's almost like that again, that psychological warfare. Like you don't hear other cultures bashing their hair or bashing their, Asians bashing their eyes or whatever the case may be. Like this indoctrination, it's really deep. And I don't know. I think we're maybe a little bit too ambitious as it relates to trying to unwind that psychological bit. Like 400 years of physical slavery. How are you going to have like a fraction of that for the psychological piece without intentionally unwinding it?
Yeah. I'll just say something. Honestly, I agree with you, Lavinia, in saying that a lot of, in fact, everything with regards to this topic around us feeling insecure and wanting to emulate something that's not naturally ours is really rooted in a whole era where some a certain group of people try to snatch our identity, so trying to undo who we are as a people. And it's like untangling, I don't know, crochet or something. If someone told you untangle this really well without cutting it and whatever, it's going to take time, and it's going to be complex trying to unwind and undo all these things. I remember when I did a reaction to this video, there was a comment below from an African lady. I believe she's from Nigeria, and she says, something to the effect of, I can't stand, or I can't believe that you're trying to, force me or influence me to get into this love your natural hair trend, or adopt this whole natural hair love. And I actually sat up. I'm like, no, no, actually, the fact that you feel that
You were
you have
getting a
to
little in your
adopt,
feelings.
the fact that you feel that you have to adopt a love for your natural self, that is a problem. That is a problem. So I agree that it's going to be complex, and yes, I sometimes I think to myself, is this overstepping? Like, but once again, I believe that we can build and make improvements. I mean, 400 years of slavery is going to take a while to undo.
Yeah.
However, if we just make the difference where we are, I believe that you're doing what you can where you are. So yeah, that's that.
Yeah. I guess that's why when when I hear someone talk like that, to your
Oh,
point,
Jen's laughing a bit. Is she?
ooh, can you hear me?
We can hear you. I can hear you now. Yep.
I was saying when I hear a thought like that, a perspective that way, where there's a lot of people realistically right now that do not like their natural hair. They don't want to
Right.
wear it. They don't want to have anything to do with it. Don't bring it to special occasions. Like it's that self hate is still there, and it's interesting because there's people that are there, but they don't see it as self hate. It's not like it's a preference, or it's just what it is. Like if we think from a cultural perspective or whatnot, you are going to bring your best foot forward to any special occasion, including your hair. Like don't show that thing to my event, and they don't even realize where it's coming from either. Obviously, we all have different perspective, how we frame the world based on our environment, based on how we're raised, but it's still that's where you are. The fact that you don't want to wear your hair, you don't like your hair, you don't think it's beautiful, you're mad at someone else for trying to influence you to adopt your beauty. Like it's you think about that's crazy. But
It's
in any case, you when someone's there, all I want to do is help. All I want to do is kind of like reach out and like bring them on
Yeah.
your side, okay? Because you can still wear your wigs, you can still do whatever you want to do to your hair. I mean, it's 2024, okay?
Yeah.
Do what you want to do in every
of
area of
course.
your life. I would hope not just hair, but do what you want to do with your hair. But it's the fact that you view your natural hair, you view yourself, part of yourself. It could be your skin, it could be your hair, it could be like I don't know anything. Your fingernails. You view it as something that is so
Not acceptable.
Mhm.
unacceptable.
Right. And not beautiful. Right.
Yeah, those people that have they're natural, but they have never wear their hair out ever. And it's like, oh, that's very interesting. you know, you still wear this wig at home, like when you sleep. I don't know. And it's just how do you help someone that is still there? And that's
Right.
the perspective sometimes I see because, again, it took forever for me to even get out of that space. So then, how do you help someone else get out of it?
Y'all are on it, because that segues us into the next part. So negative connotations, representations, or ideas of natural hair. So one of the things that in my comments that I do agree with what a lot of people were saying, and I'm pretty sure that you guys have the same thoughts. A lot of people in the comments, when it comes to natural hair, because again, talking about her, I did always want to ask this question. When she's talking about do not bring your natural hair to my event, I guess my first question would be, when you say natural, what do you mean? Do you mean like just like a fro and you just show up? Because a lot of people were commenting about how I have my hair styled and was asking, whether or not it would have been appropriate. So I guess if I were to ever have a conversation with Miss Chloe, I guess I would want her to kind of break down when she says, do not bring your natural hair to my event. What does she mean? Because Lavinia, you're wrapped up, you look gorgeous. My hair is up, I look gorgeous. Jen, your hair is out, you look gorgeous. P, your hair is styled and you look gorgeous. Now just imagine each one of us putting on, earrings, dress, makeup. I think we would all look fine. So I think that would be something that I would want her to define. Because sometimes when people think of natural hair, they think that us natural women just roll out of bed and go about our day.
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, I cannot do that. I would look absolutely crazy. And I know for me, when I was relaxed, I actually find that me being natural is more work than being relaxed. I don't know about anybody else. That's me. But the reason why I'm bringing that up is because a lot of people in the comments were just saying a lot of women who have those thoughts don't actually know how to care for and do their natural hair. And I think that has a little bit of something to do with it.
I think that's true. I think
Jenna's like, no, wait a minute.
that's the whole thing,
Go ahead. Clearly you feel away, Miss Jen. Go ahead.
I think it kind of goes back to that pencil test you were talking about, like when you put something in there and it's if it comes out. Anyway, y'all, she just talked about it, but where there's different types of acceptable natural hair.
Yes.
There's the curly hair. It's like,
we will get into that. Yes.
Volume. I mean, half of our wigs are curly hair. Think about it. There is the tight, maybe like 4A-ish. Just to give you guys like visual, I'm gonna use the typing chart because it doesn't exist. Whatever. There's the 3s, and then there's 4A where it's like, oh, you have so much volume. Like, your hair is styled, your hair is long, right? I can see you have a lot of thickness back there, but your hair is looking good.
It really is.
The lens that someone could look at it like, wow, you have so much thickness, your edges are looking good, that's beautiful. I can guarantee you, if we put all of us in,
I tried a little bit
dresses,
they're starting to come up, but I tried.
Girl, you're looking good.
Thank you.
But there's someone, well, there's there's natural hair like me, like 4C now,
right?
Tighter, and that's where things get shady. It was like 3's okay, 4A cool. Even after that, it's like, I don't know, you got to do something with your hair. And when you think about, there's a reality where all of us would show up to, her special event. So say it was you and I, whatever that special event is,
right?
Classically, if we're both to show up, beautiful gowns, you said earrings, hair done. My hair's like this, and your hair is opposite the way that it is. She probably would have told me to go home. Like, it's my hair that can't come to her special.
So I would be fine, and you would have to go home.
I'm assuming. Now I don't know her, okay, but
she might not let me in either. She might not let me in either. She might be like, well, your edges are starting to come up. You can't come in.
You might not, but you're the person that someone will question, are you black? Like, are you sure you're black because of your hair? Oh, your hair's beautiful. You black. You must be mixed with something else that gave you this beautiful hair. Whereas don't question me if I'm black. Oh, yeah, you're black. And you got to do something with your hair.
I was going to say Maya's hair, if you all don't know, classically kept Maya's hair, she would be totally acceptable. I feel like she would be accepted because a lot of people wouldn't actually believe that that's your hair, because your hair is super long and its texture and the way you style it and all that, it actually looks unreal. It looks like there is something else happening here.
And there's
no, we believe you. But I think that she would pass. And just like Jen said, it's the idea that 4C hair is type 4. Let me just say, tighter textured hair. Let's say that
there's a range, right? It's basically you're in a range where the closer you are to, I guess, straight hair or curly hair, the more it's like, okay, it's fine. Okay, you can hang. I like it. Oh, girl, how'd you get your hair like this? Like
Yeah.
it's whole range.
And I don't
Yeah,
know. I
you're
don't.
talking like the Yaras, the Tracy Ellis Ross. Like those are the curls where they're like, yeah, come through. Like, you know what I mean?
So
And I
Jen,
don't know if
you're
you remember, she actually said at least wear a ponytail.
she did say that. She said she said at least I would wear a ponytail.
Yeah, so it
Which means
goes
that
like
the
the
front part would have had to have been slicked down, right? Slicked down,
exactly.
edges laid, and then she probably wouldn't even have had I'm thinking, even if it was a ponytail, I don't even think it would have been a textured ponytail. I think it would have been just a straight ponytail.
Mm-hmm.
If she were to do it. So Jen,
Yeah.
you're not buying the a lot of women don't know how to do their natural hair. You're not buying that?
But I think that is part of it, you know.
Okay.
I don't want to say that's not true, but I also think it's 2024.
Yes.
Right? Like there was a time that I remember where
There was
even
nothing.
stylists didn't know how to do my hair. So it was just I was out here struggling, and I didn't know how to do my hair. My mom was struggling. So imagine a world where there's no information. And then I finally discovered YouTube because my hair was in shambles, as you can imagine.
YouTube University.
And YouTube University didn't exist at the time. It was just a few women,
Yes.
talking to a camera, and I was like, "Wow, she has natural hair." I was floored. Like, what? Y'all remember African Exports? Like, really
Of
tight,
course.
natural hair. And I was just like, African Export was my girl. Like, we're still friends. From time to time, I search her name just to see if she uploaded or something. But anyway, imagine seeing someone taking care of their hair, and I was like, well, I can do this. But originally really started with the hair forums. But all that to say, there's that world, there's that reality. And now there's YouTube University. Girl, you can pick a creator and study them, watch their videos, and you're like, my God, there's so much information. But all that said, I do empathize because now you have so much information being thrown at you that you don't know what to choose. Someone said to pre-poo, someone said not to pre-poo, someone said to, I don't know, you know what I mean? So it's difficult to navigate.
Yep.
But you have the information. Like I just
But even to this day, like with all that info, like I feel like there's still gaps, right? So like for example, like I was one of those people, YouTube University for my hair care. And I didn't see even the subtype of like fine hair, like fine natural hair. People think when you have natural hair, it's thick and it's coily and you can do this and you can do that. And yeah, you have to be careful with natural hair, period. But fine hair, like fine 4C hair, type 4 hair, like the wind literally breaks it off. Like, and no one's talking about that, right? So, and I know you know what I mean, Jen. Like, I don't know if your strands are fine, but mine, like, they're 4C and they're fine.
Yeah, they're fine. I just have a lot of them. So imagine a lot of frail hair. It's like, okay, well, we're figured out. But I agree. I think there is a lot of, well, it's overwhelming. There is some holes. Not every texture is represented because at the end of the day, we're still battling with our identity, with really accepting our. There's so much like what you think of someone like Chloe that would look at YouTube, right? Through her world. Now she's not looking for, say, natural hair, probably the hair that she has. She's not looking for that. She's looking for I don't know, how to slay a wig. I don't know, even though her wig looks funny, but anyways, maybe that's what she's looking at. That's her world. That's her point of view. And
Jen, you just had to bring it up, didn't you?
Just a little bit.
Yeah, now you throw it in there.
If you're gonna tell me not to be my natural hair, at least yours gotta. Anyway, this is not what this conversation is about. All I'm saying is we apply our point of view and our perspective through our lives, through YouTube University. So someone's not looking at the right information to be able to learn their hair. They're still looking at the hair that they wish they had and trying to get that. Oh, I wish I had thicker hair, even though your hair is fine. So that's what you looking. But at the same time, the people that create content for fine natural hair, they're not getting the views, for example, because their hair is not what everyone wants. Everyone wants a thick hair. Everyone wants long, extra long hair. So your view, I guess it's skewed the way that you are looking for the information that you're missing. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Like I feel like the most shocking piece to it too is the fact that like she's saying don't bring your natural hair to my event, And you got women in all areas, all industries, workplaces. Like, I show up everywhere with my natural hair. Like, it's illegal. Like, it's actually illegal to tell someone they can't get a job. They can't, they can't be in a professional space. Like, I show up to court like this. I show up to court with my fro. So if I can't come to your event, but I can stand in my robes, my legal robes, and my natural hair. Like, no offense to, like, again, not for her specifically. Like, I don't want anybody to feel like they're being targeted, but anyone who holds that viewpoint, your event can stay there then, because that's not the kind of event that I want to be at, And I'm just going to leave the comments on the wig and whether it looked good, yes or no, right where it is, because I think we all can agree that, if you are going to wear a wig, like, you at least have a wig that looks natural or looks like it could be yours. Like, I personally don't like to wear wigs where, somebody can look at it and say, wow, that's a wig. Like, that's not the point, right? So, I mean, I'm gonna leave it where it is, because like, the point is for it to look like a hairstyle. Like, it shouldn't be a topic of conversation in and of itself, right? But
you said you're a lawyer?
Wow, that's a wig. That's a real.
Lavinia, you can go to court with your head wrap?
Yeah.
Really?
But,
What?
I think it takes a level of confidence, for you to show up to wherever you're going with who you are. It takes a level of confidence, and it also takes where you are going to accept that. I don't know if that makes sense, because I think you could say, I'm gonna show my natural hair at a job interview, but at the same time you question the fact that we even have to think about that.
Right.
It's a problem. And like, you question, because I know I've shown up to work interviews and, girl, I got my hair together. Like, I straightened it, or I did whatever to it just for an interview. You don't even get the job, so split ends for no reasons.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I've done that, and it's the environment that you're going into. You're like, you know what, I'm not even gonna risk not getting this job because these people don't like my natural hair, or because it's too much for them, right? So some environments don't promote that showing up the way that we want to.
I think it's assimilation, right? Is it assimilation? It's not coding. What is it? Is it assimilation when you're talking about, when it comes to the wigs? And I think that's the term for it. I can't think of the term, but basically it's like Black women, Monday through Friday, they wear their straight hair, and then on Saturday and Sunday they're their authentic self.
Yes.
Like code switching?
Thank you. Code switching. Yes. Okay. So let's see, because I know we just talked about that. So we talked about, because Jenna just said, no, you know how to do your natural hair. It's just, so with that, as far as natural hair, not feeling beautiful, not feeling accepted, because actually when I did my video about getting my hair trimmed, I get my hair trimmed by a professional at the top of the year, and then I maintain. And I was just having a conversation with her, and she said that she has several Black women who are natural, and they are in corporate. And Lavinia, you can probably speak to this. And I asked her, I said, is it confidence? What is it? And she said they just do not feel beautiful with their natural texture. She said that they will come in once a month or every 2 weeks, and she will, flat iron it for them. They don't touch it, they wrap it, they come back and they do the exact same thing. So as far as the natural hair, because a lot of people in the comments were saying the same thing, feeling accepted, getting a job, not feeling beautiful. And the hairstylist that I went to, she was saying basically they just do not feel beautiful with their natural texture. What do y'all think about that?
That makes me even more sad, because I always thought it was the fact that they love their hair themselves. They just wanted to fit the environment they were going to, which is the corporate world. Just like, I would show up to a job interview and straighten my hair. So they felt that pressure to show up this way, which is why they didn't show up as themselves. Not that it's them. You didn't love, or you haven't fully accepted yourself. And if you don't show up in these environments, then who will? Right? Because then that also has a ripple effect of you showing up authentically to these spaces.
Yeah. I wonder if it's also just ease of management, because I think
that has I think that has something to do with it because she, like I said, she said that most of those clients are corporate women. So
Yeah.
you start adding, you start adding levels, you start, adding things in family, kids, husband.
Yeah.
You have 3 kids, one has soccer, one has band, one has gymnastics. So I think a lot of it is also ease. But again, you can't, for 1 month, you can't just, slick it back with your waves and go to work. So but I found it very interesting that she just basically said they do not feel confident going to work like that.
Yeah, I guess you have to kind of empathize with them because, like Jen said, like you're bombarded or you're surrounded by people that either question how you look or they look completely different from you. And as human beings, we're actually created to operate within a community. Like a sense of belonging is vital. It used to be actually a matter of life and death in the past. So we have that inbuilt with us to feel a part of something, feel a sense of belonging. I mean, here we are, like-minded women talking about something that we're all passionate about. Okay, so
Yeah.
if she is in that environment every day, and I mean, I know I get it, like here, like people come and touch my hair and they ask me all sorts of questions.
Oh, don't do that.
It's
But I'm
not like, yeah, and it's not
sorry.
like it's not like I don't like to wear my natural hair, but I really don't like the attention. Like I really just want to leave. Like I don't need the reminder. Oh, you're different, and you're not like everybody else. And how come your hair goes up and doesn't go like I, So maybe she's kind of trying to, or they are trying to sort of stay away from,
The attention.
like being singled out, if you may.
Being singled out. Okay, that makes sense because I remember I was on an assignment. Corporately, I contract myself out to handle claims, and I remember I came to work with my hair like this, just natural. And for my birthday, I typically get my hair straightened, or I will straighten it. And I came to work, and people were just like, I had a coworker that I spoke to on a daily, and my hair was straight, and I said, "Hi, Jim." He's
Oh my God.
I'm like, okay, I don't look that different. And then I'm sitting at my desk and somebody else is over here looking, who's at Maya's desk?
Oh my God.
Oh my god.
I don't look that different. Okay. I do not look that different. But Lavinia, I do have a question for you because I know you're in a corporate setting. So when it comes to your natural hair, do you think that, let's say you have a client or a prospective client or just a job in general, do you think that because your hair is natural, do you think that it's that client is not going to, I guess you could say, think that you are worthy of representing them? Do you think your hair plays into that as opposed to you coming to your hair with your hair, straightened,
Yeah. I typically don't really wear my hair in a straightened state that much.
Okay.
So I always see clients in my natural hair, be it like, a natural hairstyle, like what do you call it there? Oh my gosh. Like crochet locks. Oh my gosh, there it is.
Okay.
Crochet locks or, a natural looking wig. Like right now I'm wearing this wrap because I'm literally deep conditioning in this moment. Like I'll go.
Hey, I have to wash my hair. I have to wash my hair on Monday.
Right? It can be beautiful. It is beautiful. Not can be. It is beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And I will go to work like this. I work in a law firm. I'm a human rights and employment lawyer. So when people come to me, they come to me for help with those precise issues, right? Like they feel like they've been targeted or discriminated in the workplace. They need a workplace investigation, someone who looks like them, understands their experiences, so on and so forth. So I can honestly say I have never, ever, ever been in a situation where somebody was like, oh, I kind of want someone who looks more professional.
Okay.
And if
So
they felt
think
that way,
they think that you are capable within your job. They think you're capable. No one has questioned you or anything like that. Or well, let me say this, to your knowledge.
No, the thing is like I think this is largely within our community because even at work in like earlier this week at the firm, I was like, yeah, I'm hopping on a live with some friends off of YouTube on my YouTube show, Financial Hair Rocks, and we're talking about hair, and they were like, it's really that big of a deal? Like, I'm like, what do you mean? Yeah, it's a huge thing for Black women. They're like, really? Like, it's just hair. Like, what? And it's like, it's crazy because I feel like people outside of our community have moved past this, but we as a community, for some reason, again, back to that psychological warfare, that psychological slavery, we're still there. Like, I don't know. So yeah, court, no one has said anything to me. They're smarter than that because again, it's against the law in Canada, and you probably don't want to do that with a human rights lawyer. Like, we gonna play, right? We gonna play. But I mean, all jokes aside, and it's the same in California too, right? With the Crown Act. And I'm not an American lawyer, I'm a Canadian one. So I think it's moving across the states. But that being said, yeah, like in terms of what you mentioned, Jen, about like entering certain spaces and feeling like I want this interview, so I'm going to straighten my hair. My approach is like, if you don't like my hair like this, and I have to straighten it to come to your interview, I don't want to work for you anyways, right? So there's that piece too. And I know that's asking people to be advocates and, to put aside, financial whatever for this advocacy. But I feel like
I think there's so many different verticals happening at the same time, perspective happening at the same time, right? Because you're coming from a place where you're very grounded, not only in how you show up, but where you're showing up. Like, I'm gonna show up to work the way that I want to, and everyone should do the same thing, or I don't want to work for you anyway. That's fair. And there is the reality where I just lost my point. Never mind.
Let me just come in there and
I'll tell you if it comes back.
let me just say, just to kind of agree with Jen a little bit there, because I believe I see where Lavinia is coming from, and I believe that other cultures will get over it once we do, and a lot of them are already at that stage where, yeah, okay, this is who they are. However, because of the versatility of our hair, okay, if they see you like this, they expect to see you like this all the time. However, as we know, natural hair, Black women, we wear hair wraps, we wear, whatever. Sometimes it could be this, and it could be this, and it could be down to my waist. And it's the same hair. I didn't chop it, but it's got shrinkage and it's got things. So I still find that, yes, certain people and certain cultures are accepting of, oh, yeah, no, it's nice hair. But if they see you in a completely different, like twist out, wash and go, that's different to the last time, they're like, oh, she cut her hair, or what is happening there? So I feel like there's still some untangling that needs to happen, even with other ethnic groups, because yes, and I think that's what kind of makes it more complicated, because we're trying to undo what we've been taught for this long, and also trying to educate the masses. This is who we are, and our hair does a million things. So I can see how it can also be two-sided, but I do agree that in our community, that's where the issue probably is the most, because once we really get into it, the world will be forced to do it. I watched a video, sorry to go on and on, but I watched a video by Dr. Umar, who was saying that until Black women wear the natural hair and love it, okay?
The love part. You have to include the love part. Yeah.
Yes. If unless until Black women wear the natural hair and love it, young girls will always feel psychologically insecure.
That is, yes.
So we are carrying a lamp here, and I sort of agree with Lavinia here in saying that we kind of need to suffer a little in certain situations in order for this mission to be taken forward to the next generation. So yes, someone might touch my hair and feel a certain way when they see my hair. However, hopefully in 20 years, my son or my daughter or my grandchildren do not have to go through this. And I know I'm saying a lot.
That was where my point was gonna go to, from the past, I guess similar conversation, but the past topic there. With I come from the perspective I would change my hair for an interview because that's the reality. Now it could have been my mind, but I lived in the States and I'm in Canada now. And being in Canada, my experience has been showing up to work with my hair change, a wig, something. Yeah. And then eventually I shaved it off, so had like a fade, and then showed up with that the next day. So everybody was like, whoa.
We remember that one.
Like, I didn't recognize you with your hair. And imagine me just with a fade. So, and from that point, I was like, I'm just going to show up as Jen.
Yeah.
So I moved up the ladder because I'm just smart and like that. So moved up, and I still think, oh, should I change my hair? Is my hair going to prevent me from like getting into some places or getting into some rooms? Like, that's still my reality and how I've been treated my entire life. So it's still something in the back of my mind. Like, should I is something about me going to prevent me from going where, say, my heart wants me to go. Um,
Yeah.
in any case, so that was my thought as I was moving up the ladder. So I got to a point where I was working with a really high executive of the company. So she's brilliant, but she's complete opposite experience because she's a white woman, who grew up
Yeah.
in Canada, and she's going through her own journey of breaking glass ceilings as a woman. It's very interesting perspective because me, I'm like a
Wow.
black woman and she's a white woman. She's privileged in my eyes, but the conversation we've had was very interesting. So,
Yeah.
and I'll get the same treatment of, oh my god, your hair, you changed it yesterday. Is this, how did you get this? The whole conversation. And sometimes I entertain it. Sometimes just like, you can tell in my face, I'm just like,
Mm.
anyway, so the document, like we're not going to do it. But I keep in mind that me showing up in places like that, like there's probably never been a black woman in the position I was at. And
Mm.
that showed up with their natural hair, the way
Their
that I'm
natural
showing
hair.
up to work. And I was hella black at work, first of all. Like, I
Mm.
brought Jen and the attitude. Let's, all of me. So it was very interesting perspective coming from that. But then I always, I see it on social media a lot where people are like, I would never let someone touch my hair at work, like da 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 da. And unless you get in those positions where it's like a group around you at this point, you're just like, oh my god, okay, well, this is not how we do this around here. But it takes a level of confidence almost for you to start
It,
speaking up for yourself in some of
it
these
does.
situations. But
And
when it started happening, I realized that a lot of it too was in my mind where I felt insecure that I was in a space like that with my natural hair. So you think about all the things that I've allowed. So to tie back to your point, Coily, I make sure that I show up and show out with all of me for my daughter as well. Because now she's like studying me and she's touching my hair. And I'm like, oh my God, baby, it's beautiful. It's
Watching you. Yep.
and because I don't want to pass that same message of we're not enough and we need to go above and beyond to be in these spaces, or there's spaces that just not made for us. Like that's not a reality that or a thought or perspective that I even want to pass down to anybody.
And
Yes.
I don't want it to seem as if I've never struggled with that, cuz like absolutely 1,000,000%, like as a law student when I was just trying to break into the profession, like I did feel pressured to look a certain way, to speak a certain way, to act a certain way. And I was even in a law firm where I had my fro out, like it was like just pulled back and like in the little fro at the back. And one of the assistants literally went in without me knowing into my fro. Like she was like all up in it. And I just shuddered. Like I remember like shuddering and I didn't say anything. And to this day, to this moment, I'm like, I should have said
It
something.
bothers you. It's
I
like,
should have said something. It bothers
Yeah.
you. It takes something away from you because it's like, I don't touch people's head like
Yes,
that.
it
Like, I would
does.
never. And I don't think anybody on here would ever. And so for someone like,
Personal
that's
space.
assault, right? Like, that's unwanted touching. And so I just wish I could go back and fix that. So I just wanted to like put that out there that even me in this space where I advocate and I argue for people to not go through
Yeah.
these things, I'm this passionate
Yeah.
about it because I've been through it and I felt like I was silenced to hold on to a job too. So like I don't want anyone to think that like I'm over here and like I'm just always so strong. Like no, like I totally get it, Jen. I totally get it, Coily, and anyone else who
no, but I wasn't trying to take away from your experience at all. Like I think from
Mhm.
the beginning of this conversation, we realized that we have 4 different experiences. Like,
Yes.
and that's what
And
makes
it's good
it
to hear all these
so.
perspectives, you know?
Yeah, it makes it so interesting.
Yeah.
Seeing where we all came from. But I just want to say to that point. So I've worked in an environment. I was the only black girl, um, all white women, and of course they do their hair too. Some of them got money. Every couple of weeks, oh yeah, I got the highlights, da 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 da. And I just want to report from someone who's been in that environment what I've seen. And a lot of them, they're just as touchy feely with each other. Sometimes a little too much. I'm just like, okay, well,
Oh my
you're not gonna
God.
say nothing. Like it's like, oh, let me grab your hair and put it in a ponytail. Oh, wait, no,
No.
and I wouldn't have allowed that. Like that's a lot, and they do that with each other. So it's very interesting um, when I hear it as well, because then there's a level of boundaries, obviously, with all of us, that whatever you may be comfortable with anybody touching you, really. Like for me, it's not just someone touching my hair. The second you start getting too close,
Yeah.
It's personal space,
very,
isn't
very
it? It's
personal
just too
space.
close.
Yeah, and the fact that a lot of people don't even understand what that means. Someone's personal space is very interesting to me.
All right. So you guys kind of touched on this before, but social media, beauty standards. P, you touched on it. Jen, you touched on it. So we can, go ahead and get into it. You guys talked about the different textures and what's being looked at as beautiful, what's natural, and things like that. We all know Viola Davis. We all know Lupita. We all know Yara. We all know Tracy Ellis. I was getting ready to call her Joan Clayton.
You all would have been like Joan.
we all know Tracy Ellis Ross. So when it comes to those different textures, and you guys have spoken about this before, Tracy Ellis Ross on the red carpet, she can basically wear her hair however she wants. Yara Shahidi can wear her hair straightened or curly, and she is beautiful. Now we step over to Viola Davis, and I don't think she snatched the wig, but I think one time she showed up finally in her afro on the red carpet. She got a very different response, as Lupita has gotten before. She got a very different response, like you guys were talking about, as opposed to, I keep wanting to call her Joan, Tracy Ellis Ross and Yara Shahidi. Y'all spoke on this, and I think that social media, celebrities, I think they play a huge role, especially for our younger girls, our younger women coming up. I think they also play a huge role in why we are in such this wig craze right now. What do y'all think?
Absolutely.
Oh, totally. You go, Lavinia.
I nominate you, Courtly. Go ahead.
All right. I was just gonna say, absolutely, yes.
More acceptable.
Yes, like we grow up watching movies. Some of them are really close to our hearts. Some of us are really influenced. Not some, all of us. Like movies literally mean like movie to move you emotionally, to actually affect you at that level. So when you see someone that doesn't necessarily look like you all the time, or a certain type of hair being promoted more than the other, of course you start to feel like, okay, I want to be associated with the cool people, the cool guys. However, let me just say, like, a looser curl is beautiful. Yara's hair is beautiful. Looser textures. Hair, oh, it's lovely, lovely curl, lovely shine. What did you say, Jen?
I said all hair is beautiful.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. That's where I'm getting to. The fact that we have that as beautiful hair and classified as the good hair does not mean that any other type of hair is not beautiful. And if anything, can I argue that 4C hair has an added advantage, or what I want to say, tightly textured hair has got an advantage in being able to do a plethora of things. So it may seem as though, okay, not as accepted, whatever. However, you've got so many options and so many things, so many styles to play with this like tighter textured hair. In saying that, though, it's lovely to see the representation with Lupita Nyong'o, with Viola Davis. That is so impactful. I sometimes look at these celebrities, I'm like, when is the day coming when we can see so and so in her natural hair, or so and so in her natural hair? Because these people literally influence us, even though we don't want to be influenced. We don't want them to have such an impact on society. It is what it is, and subconsciously, they actually. It's like, believe it or not,
they influence how we view the world, and I think social media is a blessing and a curse.
I do think that as well.
Yeah, and I also, and social media just amplified all of the issues within our community. It's us online, right? So if we're insecure in our hair, we don't like it, or the environment that you're showing up doesn't accept it, or you don't know how to care for it, whatever all the reason is in real life is basically what's being amplified on social media. We think about the women with curlier textures that are, which beautiful, of course, we all agree all hair is beautiful. Disclaimers. They're accepted no matter what they do with their hair. And then for us to show up with our hair tightly kinky hair, and you get all the questions, or it's like you're making a whole social impact with your hair. It's like, I just wanted to show up to this dinner. I don't want to talk about it. I just want to laugh, right? Like, this is not to save the people. This is just, it's not about a cause. It's 2 p.m. So there's so many things that are happening at the same time, and we this is why I say social media is a blessing and a curse. We see what we want to see, and it's influencing us. So it's like, oh yeah, I want hair like Tracy. I can tell you when growing up, watch Girlfriends, and when I was watching all the women on YouTube, I was like, oh my god, I'm pretty sure my hair's gonna look like her hair. Oh, it's gonna look all curly and big. Imagine my shock when I cut my hair and I had horsey hair. I was like, oh my god, are you serious? Even all the conditioners I used didn't help. Like, let me see, there's a little curl up here. Nothing. Imagine, but that's because it's the imagery that's being fed to me, and I'm like, well, I know I don't have white hair, but at the very least, please don't be 4C. So imagine the unlearning that has to happen, and for me to show up online and give a different perspective. Like, your hair is beautiful. Wear your hair. Accept your hair. And if we don't show up, we as in Black women in this generation don't show up with just all of us, and how do we
Yeah.
expect other people to accept us? But who else is going to show up and let the world know that we're perfect the way that we are?
We are who we are. Take it or
This is
leave
who we
it.
are. Yeah.
You are, yeah. I feel like social media and like celebrities and just seeing like trends definitely does contribute to how I feel about my natural hair. I feel like lately, like there's been a whole, Beyonce renaissance, right? And you see Beyonce and you see her in this like blonde wig and all these kinds of things. And like that's being posited as like the standard of Black beauty. So like a part of me does a huge part of me has to fight back against that, like there, I'm not gonna lie, like I do see that the natural hair trend has been kind of falling to the wayside to like, again, more like relaxers and straight looks and stuff like that. And like I'm feeling like internally it's a more conscious effort to remain in, where I am right now, which took a lot of work to get here, right? Like in terms of like embracing natural hair, walking out, whether it's like defined, which I don't really care for definition because fine hair needs to be frizzy and that's the whole thing. It's a different conversation. But regardless, I just feel like, yeah, like I'm feeling like I want to have straight hair sometimes, and it's because of what you consume. So
Yeah.
kind of like, I think there was one other fine hair natural. Her name is Pioneer Curl, and she was saying like, if
I've heard that name before.
She's really good. Like she taught me so much about fine hair. Like her hair is a lot looser, but nevertheless, that fine piece to it really does apply to all textures as it relates to curly hair. But nevertheless, one thing that she said, and it stuck with me, is like, don't feel bad cutting certain, outlets off. Like maybe stop following somebody if that person is, tapping into something that might be triggering you, right? Like in the sense of like feeling like you're not as beautiful, or you're feeling like you need to do things that aren't necessarily authentic to you type thing. And again, this is not bashing Beyonce. Like I'm not trying to have the Beehive come for me. So I love Beyonce.
You don't want that.
I love Beyonce. I'm gonna put it out there. I love you.
But I agree. I even as someone who posts content online, I want everyone to always do like a intentional social media scroll. Just like start scrolling and pay attention to how you feel. If you come up with a post and it's like, oh, it makes me feel off. Whatever that off means for you, could be some sort of insecurity with your hair, eyes, nose, this. You don't like this person. Maybe I kind of, whatever it is, take note. Like, okay, well, maybe I should mute this person, put them on timeout. Like maybe I just need a break from social media in general. We need to take the time to really pay attention to what we're consuming, because obviously that is affecting and influencing all of our decisions.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. I was just gonna say that just listening to what you all are saying, it kind of like just highlights how much natural hair is not just hair. I think a lot of us would like to believe that it's just hair, and to a certain extent it is. However, it's really a statement because of the history of us not being able to wear our hair the way it is naturally. And like you're saying, social media, seeing people in these looser textures, or straight hair, wigs, you kind of have to put yourself back in check. All right, this is who I am, and this is okay. So it's like a constant fight. It's a constant tug of war. Oh, one day you fall off, the next day you're okay. Next day, oh, should I get that? Should I? And And I feel like that's maybe part of the reason why we've seen, things slow down and people going back to relaxers, because it's hard. It's a fight. You're fighting yourself. You're trying to fight society. You're trying to teach your kids. You're trying to untangle, detangle your hair, however often. It's just a lot. So you just feel like, look, I'm just gonna leave this here where it is and do what I know how to do. And then as a YouTuber, I definitely have experiences working with brands. So I do wear wigs sometimes or clip-ins or whatever. And I'm quite open. This is the texture of my hair, so this is what I want.
No.
And after the whole, hey, we've been looking at your channel and we can see that, you'll be a good fit. The minute I say I want textured hair, oh, unfortunately, I don't think this is the right time. We won't be able to work. I promise you.
So glad you're bringing that up.
I
vouch for this story. That is very true. Yeah. Or they'll tell you.
So you don't have.
Do you want to advertise the looser texture?
So it's a real battle here because the waves there's an agenda here, like sleek them edges and a looser curl or just straight, really silky hair, and that is the push for brands as well.
Not gonna lie, just today I thought about being a straight natural. I had to fight the devil.
Fight that. So I want to
fight the devil.
So I want to ask a question because somebody actually brought this up. So when Bey wore braids and afro, she didn't get as much attention as she does with the hair extensions. And I wanted to touch on this just very briefly because I'm starting to notice a trend, and I know it started a long time ago, like with Sister Sister. When the show first came out, they were curly. And then, as they were coming into womanhood, they straightened their hair. Do you guys feel like when it comes to a Black woman's career, whether it be acting, whether it be a musician, rapping, what have you, do you feel like in order for her to elevate, in order for her to go to the next level, I have noticed sometimes that the hair gets looser, it gets straighter. Do y'all agree with that?
That's the scary part. You're hitting it on the nail, Maya. Like I feel like as Black women, like that's a piece that we have to contend with. And like as I move up the ladder in my career, and my work starts to get more and more recognized, I'm starting to feel like this pull, and it's so weird to even beautiful, amazing Michelle Obama when she was first lady. She was having to rock like straighter hair looks, and there was like the press and curl, and then as soon as she left the White House, we're seeing her come out with her braids and natural hair, and like I see those things as a young Black woman who's also a lawyer, and I'm like, oh shoot, if I want to hop on the next echelon of my work and my career, I have to do this. And like to your point, like Beyonce, she was rocking the braids and the afro's gorgeous, but and I think I saw somewhere where it was mentioned, I don't know if it was a rumor or not, but it was mentioned that like when an album comes out, sometimes she feels pressured to like look lighter and have straighter hair. Like it's a real thing. It's really scary. Wow. Yeah.
And that ties right into the conversation we're having with people feeling like they can't wear their natural hair too. Right. This is just, middle class, day to day, you're trying to get a job and it's like, okay, I have to do something with my hair. I have to change it. So imagine that pressure going all the way up to Beyonce. Crazy. I thought the queen could just do whatever she want to do. Like,
apparently she can't.
Do you need more money? Maybe you can do it for the cause at this point.
The powers that be, man.
Which is really sad. And I know in Africa there is hair, and then there's lighter skin. Like people actually still bleach their skin, and that is seen as this is more beautiful. And some people actually proudly come out and actually say, why would you want to walk around with that dirty skin? Like lighten yourself up and go take a shower. And this is African people that are really, really just brainwashed. And I'm sorry to say this, but that is what it is. You're brainwashed. Yeah. And unfortunately, even kids, like you see, like I've seen videos of kids having weaves being put on them and tiny little hair trying to be braided. Ladies, like it's really definitely like intertwined in such a way that like people feel like in order for you to make it in life or to get to the next level, you have to look a certain way and have certain, the better hair or the good hair, quote unquote.
The good hair. Okay, so like I said, I want to respect everybody's time. So I said this was going to be from 8 to 10. So I want to get on one subject. The ladies already know what I'm getting ready to bring up. We're going to talk about it very briefly. I don't want to run off in a tangent. We're going to talk about it very briefly, and then we can probably take some questions because, like I said, I want to respect everybody's time. So really briefly, let's talk about natural hair and men.
Yeah.
So
There we go. I was like,
briefly, this is why I wanted to leave it for the end. Let's
Can we be brief?
let's do it brief. Let's do it a little brief. So in my video, there was I did Miss Chloe, but then there was also another portion of my video. Again, I believe she was also a Nigerian woman. She was a pastor, and I believe she was at a conference. So I don't think it was a sermon. But basically what she was saying, and I believe like what went viral for her was like, who does natural hair help? Basically what she was saying is that you need to buy a wig, or your hair needs to be presentable, or it needs to be straight to get a mate, to get a husband, and basically something like that. So I want to see if we can keep it brief, and one of y'all can start.
This is hard. I can't keep it brief.
Hard.
Does brief mean 15 minutes?
If everybody in the chat is fine, and if y'all are fine, and you want to go over,
no, I'll keep it really brief.
Okay, that's what I want to respect.
I was just gonna say,
if y'all want to go over
reaction.
10, if y'all want to go over 10, we can. But like I said, I want to respect everybody's time. I'm gonna,
I'm okay.
you can talk about an experience with Black men. I have a few. You can talk about your opinion. Okay, so Corley, you sound like you want to go first. Go ahead.
I need to go.
Let her go, girl.
I need to go. I am burning. We need to talk about this. Listen. I did a reaction on this lady, right? And I say, Pastor, you shouldn't be sitting at the pulpit telling ladies to hide who they are. And
right. Her message is a problem as well.
Hook the man in. Yeah, hook the man in, and then when you get into the marriage, throw the wig away. Now, let me just say that she should not be advising any women. Like, this is not advice for getting a man or keeping a man. I have to say though that our men are also conditioned. All right,
yes,
our
men
are also conditioned. They also have been affected by the fact that the bombarding messaging, telling them a looser curl, whatever. So yes, they do have this perspective, and it does affect how we date. I personally have not had that experience. I have to fight with my husband when I wear a wig. He does not like them. And there are men like that, right? However, I am very cognizant of the fact that a lot of our men still actually prefer a certain texture, a looser texture, however you want to view it. And this lady, I did say in my video, does anyone have her number, because we need to talk. Her situation is more intense than Chloe's one, because
is she married? Do you know if she's married?
I think she is.
Okay.
She's married.
I think she's
married.
I think she had a ring on.
Okay.
The pulpit should be the place of empowerment. Tell ladies, tell young girls to be themselves. Like, if you're gonna show up to a date for a man, of course you're gonna dress up. You're gonna look good. It's in order, but let's not feel like we need to hide who we are in order to get relationships. And I think men should be included in this conversation, because we don't want to be out here rocking our natural hair and there's no one wanting to marry us. That's not what we're here for. So they should be part of the conversation, but we shouldn't just, sit down and say, okay, bring on the wig, I'll hook you. What kind of pastor tells people to trap men? That is like, that's so trapping. No.
There's so many.
Done. I promise.
That conversation right there. There's too much. But if we're gonna keep it focused on the natural hair piece,
sorry, I'm done.
I think men love natural hair on women, and maybe that's from my perspective, my experiences. But is they are, I would say, they enjoy our confidence with it. It's us that needs to
I do agree with that,
and show up with our hair confidently, and they'll be like, "Wow, I didn't even know like your hair could do this, or you could wear it like that. It's interesting." Like, I think innately though they love natural hair in women, if they haven't seen it, then they don't know what it's like. They're also conditioned, right? So they're coming from that view of looser curl is better, until you show up confidently and change their mind, which is very quick to change, by the way. then it gets accepted within the men in your life, whether that's family or whoever you're dating, etc. And hopefully you didn't hook them, with your
With the
wig
wig or with your
situation.
straight hair.
And it's like a shock. Imagine you always in the wig, get
You
married.
imagine showing up for the second date.
Who are you? What's going on? I think it's fair for them to at that point really ask you what happened. I'm just saying, I don't want to be involved in your relationship, girl, but like, don't take that advice of hooking someone in any kind of way.
I find this so funny because I remember I was having a conversation years ago with my brother, and he was like, this is when I was like heavy in my wig and weave stage. And he was like, you really got to like get comfortable with your own hair. And I was like, yeah, that's true. And he's like, how would you like it if you were dating a guy and he was always wearing a hat and he took off the hat and he had like a scalp disease? I'm like, that's not the same thing.
No. But you know what though? My husband showed me this video of this man. He had a beard weave. Have y'all seen that?
Oh yeah,
I've seen those.
Listen, right?
The beard weave and the hair weave.
Yeah, I've seen the hair weave too. It's funny because I feel some type of way about it, and at the same time, I'm like, should I? Because the miracles that we do with our hair, it's only a matter of time till they cut on. We've been posting it on social media, so they're like, "Oh, for real?"
I mean that man's life was changed.
Yeah,
It was.
And
His life was changed.
20 years younger, it's actually very irritating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. I was a little weirded out at first, and it looked nice when the barber was done, but it weirded me out because. No, sir, no.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I cut you off. I cut you off, Lavinia. Go ahead.
It's okay. No, this conversation, it's an interesting. There's so many angles to this, right?
There is.
Like, well, first of all, like I found my husband with my natural hair. Like he loved it. We met in school, and it is what he hates wigs. Like he hates them with a passion.
So
doesn't like it. Yeah, and like he was with me with the small little afro when I was growing out my fro, and now he's here with the big one. Like it's whatevs to him. But I mean, back to that piece that even launched this conversation. Like that's problematic. Like you're gonna wear straight hair and then hook him with the straight hair, and then hey, look at me, I have a fro underneath, and it's so terrible. Like these are the side messages that we're receiving when we hear those things, right? But yeah, I don't know.
To your point, Carly, just quickly, you talked about someone in power shouldn't even think that way. And I think sometimes we put people in power or in positions like that. We don't, we almost
have to be careful who we put on these pedestals. Yes.
That's true.
Yes.
Absolutely. And got to be careful who you're listening to, because not everyone is as healed as we think that they are. Not everyone is where they are in their journey or have even gone through your experience for you to be taking advice from them. Like I think we all collectively agree, don't do that. But
do you guys think it's a certain type of man who likes like a woman with like straight hair, like versus like my woman has to have straight hair, she can't have any naps, or to use the language, right? Like I don't use that word to describe curly, kinky, coily hair, but there are people out there who are like, if it's not straight, I don't want it. Like to me, that kind of it's a flag, right? Like you don't want me in my most authentic self. If you can't handle me in my natural hair, how are you going to handle me at childbirth? How are you going to handle me at like growing old? Or maybe it's not that serious for people. I don't know, but we're talking about husbands, so it should be, right?
Yeah, it's deeply rooted. It's self-hate. Because I mean, your mother has the hair that you're telling me that I shouldn't have. Like what are we really doing?
Well, maybe she doesn't. Maybe she's relaxed it the whole time or worn wigs the whole time. So I believe that they are also. We need to give him some kind of grace to also get to a level where, because it doesn't necessarily mean that he's toxic. Maybe that's just all that he's known or seen. So I feel that they should be included in this conversation of actually this is it, because their hair, they know how their hair grows out of their hair, but out of the head, but probably what they've seen and the messaging that's there isn't exactly what it should be. And I've seen videos where women say, I wore different hair here and different hair for this date, and I got different responses and different receptions based on the hair that I was wearing. And unfortunately, particularly with young ladies who are quite impressionable and women that are probably not as confident or have accepted their natural hair and who they are, a lot of, these situations, they might fall into quote unquote a trap, or just not be aware of these things. And with regards to the pastor, like they might actually be following her lead. A lot of people like to have someone to look up to. So
Yeah.
I might not, but the next person might actually view so and so as their role model and what have you. This is the reality. And I agree with Jen that we shouldn't put people on pedestals. However, our society is in such a way. And a lot of, I know in Africa, like there is levels. There are very clear levels in society. And it's a long way for us to get to a place where people can be individuals, where you can actually decide on your own. You actually don't have to be influenced by so and so and your pastor who's prophesying. However, this is, I find that this is the reality for a lot of.
P, you do not like that, Pastor.
No.
So for me, as far as my husband is concerned, he does not like makeup. I remember when I came back from my consultation for our wedding, because we will be married, 4 years in March. I came back, I opened the door, he looked at me, he was like, I don't like it.
Well, damn.
He was upset. But as far as my husband is concerned, I met him when I was natural, and he absolutely loves it. He doesn't like makeup, weaves, wigs, eyelashes, any of that. I will share one experience. I do have several, actually. Interestingly enough, I was, I believe, at like a pizza place. I was sitting there minding my own business. This man walks in the store and just makes a beeline for me. He literally walked up to me and says, "You are so gorgeous, but I could never date you because your hair is natural." Sir.
Excuse me, sir.
What a shame.
Sir.
That's his loss.
That's so hateful.
But we're talking to him.
Yeah, like this
Like,
scrubby
sir.
bubble.
I just kind of looked at her. I said, "Sir, nobody asked you." And asked me, "Who are you?
Step aside. Step aside.
Who are you?" So I mean, aside from that, I don't, and like I said, I have other, college and things like that. But as far as like, my husband, he will always support, I straighten my hair once a year. He likes that. But then he's like, "Okay, yeah, when you washing your hair, So weaves, wigs, none of that. So as far as like, aside from those types of men, I haven't really had like any negative, aside from just some experiences. I haven't really had any negative. But there was someone in the comments, and I can't find it, but they were saying, men talk about liking natural hair, but then they're always, making a beeline, or they're always staring at the BBLs and the weaves. So
I think there's a difference. There's a huge difference with who men look like and who they will marry and be.
That will marry. Okay.
I've heard. If you are with someone that is looking at the BBLs and the wigs, and they are dating the BBL and the wigs, and that's just who they are and what they've chosen to do.
What they've chosen. Yes, I am. What is it?
Conditioned and just being. That's all you see. You don't even realize that black is beautiful. There's men like that out there. That's the reality. You're just too conditioned and you haven't awakened yet.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Okay. All right. So it is 9:36. I am so glad that we were able to have this conversation. Now, let's see, 9:36. Like I said, I want to respect everybody's time. We're going to try to end this at 10. So if you guys in the chat, if you do have any questions, and we will see if we can answer them. Answer a couple of them.
Yeah. Can I just ask also, have we gone through the healing part, how we're moving forward with this and making the changes?
Making the changes. So basically how do we, while we're waiting for, if we have any questions, it's fine if we don't.
Yeah.
How do we fix this is what you're asking?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just gonna say that I love that we've been able to have this conversation, like you've already said, but I think the purpose of all of this is to actually move forward, which we're already doing. Like simply having this conversation is moving forward. But I also just wanted to say that a lot of the times you feel like maybe your small little contribution to the change might not make the difference. And I just want to say that as ladies in families, a part of a family, I mean, my sister still struggled with her natural hair. And I still try to encourage her. Like I said, you've got children, you want to try and be an example. If there's an event, show up with your hair, you know. And that for me is making the difference where we are. I remember my mom used to sing a song, "Brighten the corner where you are." I don't know if you guys know that song. Brighten the corner where you are. Brighten the corner where you are.
I
So
haven't heard
she,
that song, but I like it.
I like it
yeah,
too.
and she would say, you know, someone far from harbor, you may guide across the bar. So you might not see the little changes that you're making right in your corner, but generations from now, people will appreciate that we did what we did.
Is that on
So I
iTunes?
just, hey,
Is that on iTunes?
I don't think so. I'll check. I don't think so.
If not, can you send it to me?
I don't think so. Yeah, yeah, I'll send it to you. And I remember one inspirational lady. I'll just say one more thing, then I'll shut my mouth. One inspirational lady called Sonia Carson. She's the mother of Dr. Ben Carson. She was not the most educated woman, and she, you know, she would not force, but she would require her boys to read books and write and remove the television from them. And even though she couldn't understand what they were reading to her, um, they ended up being some, you know, really good people, really successful people in our society. I mean, you people know Ben Carson, you know, first neurosurgeon to separate Siamese twins. And he comes from a mother that's not as educated. And for me, I feel like even if we're struggling with these things of insecurity within ourselves, doesn't mean we cannot make the impact within our communities and the corners where we are. Done.
That's a really good question. I feel like what we're doing right now is like, you know, part of the solution. So like wearing your natural hair, like
just having the conversation.
Having the conversation, having your YouTube channels, like where people can like log on and see what you're doing and understand how to deal with, how to manage and care for their natural hair. And then just like that resilience, right? Like we have it so much more easier than like Black people had it 200 years ago, 100 years ago, 50 years ago. Like if the biggest struggle right now is our hair, like that's movement forward. Like I just feel like just showing up in your most authentic self, regardless of what, you know, the media is telling you, social media, mass media, whatever it might be, is a start. But I see you got something up, Classic.
Yeah, so it says, ladies, what would you tell your younger self about your natural hair, and what would you tell young ladies now about natural hair? So for me, my younger self, just like we talked about in the beginning of this chit chat, when I was younger, as I said, my mother always, or she at least tried to instill in me that my complexion was beautiful the way that it was, and so was my hair. And as you heard me say, I did grow up in a Caucasian environment. So there were times when I would come home and say, hey, mommy, it's picture day. Can I wear my hair out? And what she would explain to me is that, yes, you can, but it is not going to look like your friends. It's just, it's never going to look like that. We can sit here, we can wash, and we can blow dry it out, and we can put some rollers in it. But she just let me know that it's still beautiful. There's nothing wrong with their hair. There's nothing wrong with your hair, but it's never going to look like theirs. So as far as telling my younger self something, the only thing I would probably say is I wish I would have known to speak up when my aunt took me to get my relaxer. But as a child, I just didn't know. I thought I was going with my auntie to have a girl's day. So as far as my younger self, I felt beautiful. What would I tell young ladies now about their hair is basically what I try to instill on my channel, whether it be their hair texture, whether it be their event. Your natural hair, the hair that grows out of your hair, out of your head, is beautiful just the way that it is. There may be a learning curve for you to understand your hair, but you will get there. And the last thing that I will say, and I say this all the time, is that you have to learn how to love your hair. You have to learn to feel blessed about your hair, because if you don't, you will not be blessed with more. You have to feel grateful for what you have now. That's
I
what
was just going to add that some of the reasons that I'm adding to what you're saying, I agree. And I just want to say some of the reasons why we find natural hair difficult and we're, you know, looking for simpler ways or going back to relaxers, etc., is because the concept of our natural hair is not really our own, because we're trying to make it do things that it's not naturally meant to do. So
Yes.
if that natural texture acceptance is there, and I also speak about this on my channel, where I really feel like once you accept that the texture is this, your expectations, your routine, the way you style it, the way you care for it, it's going to change. It now becomes enjoyable and almost like self-care. Even you're really unbothered by when you're like the way you're looking after your hair. So I believe I would have told myself to really just accept and love and embrace my texture, which is hard to do when everything around you is saying the opposite. But
I think I would, to piggyback what you're saying and not to repeat anything, I agree with you both. I would also tell myself that it's a form, like, I have to love myself first. So, like, as a young little girl, you have to love yourself. And only when you love yourself will you start to love your hair too, because your hair is a part of yourself. What would I tell young ladies now about natural hair? Like, have patience, take advantage of all the resources that are out there. There's so much free information. I would tell them, you don't have to spend all of your money trying to figure this out either. There's so many DIYs that, like, it's all about the technique in your hair, and not so much like whatever it product is out of the day. So yeah, I think those are the two pieces that I might add to that haven't been said already.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, you guys said it all. I just add one tiny piece, which is, well, the advice that I would have for my younger self and younger ladies is the same, which is give yourself permission to step into who you are. And that's across all areas of your life. Talk about hair, skin, anything that you're insecure about, and just being able to show up and have boundaries and talk to other people and make decisions, all of it, I think really embody the advice that I would give in terms of give yourself permission to be who you are. Because once you step into who you are, you start loving yourself, you start
Yes.
accepting yourself, you go through life differently. You don't
Yes, you
accept
do.
certain treatment from other people because I'm going to teach you how to treat me. And if you can't respect that, then we don't need to be in each other's lives, for example. So just really giving yourself permission to love and accept yourself.
I love that. I hope he comes back. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, what happened?
Okay. How far do each feel that you have come in regards to loving your hair? So, as far as there she is.
Yay.
Hello, ma'am.
Welcome back.
don't ask me what happened.
We won't.
You don't have to talk about that.
So I will say for myself, in regards to loving my hair, I would say that I'm definitely still learning my hair. As far as loving my hair, I love my natural hair. There are things that I have accepted about my natural hair that my hair is just not going to look like. It's never going to look like a Yara, or it's never going to look like a, I'm just going to say Joan Clayton. It's never going to look like Tracy Ellis.
You can just say Joan. We'll know exactly.
No, okay, Joan Clayton. Thank you. That is my show. But anyway, so I have accepted my natural hair. So I will say for me, I love my natural hair the way that it is.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. Like, I spent so much time hating the fact that, like, my natural hair wasn't as thick as other naturals. It wasn't as curly and, as like the Joan Claytons of this world. But I mean, I would say that I absolutely love my hair. Like, it's just so unique and versatile, and the curls, they're gorgeous, and the coils are gorgeous, and the shrinkage and the fat, like, it's just so much fun. And like, I like to think I'm a fun person, and my hair matches my personality. It's perfect for me. And that was because of the work that I've done. So I feel I've come a very far, long way.
I agree. I came from a long, another planet is where I was at. And now we're here. And I love it here, which is loving and accepting every aspect of my hair. Like you mentioned, Coily, once you accept your texture and realize, okay, I'm not trying to wear my natural hair like the hair that I used to wear when I was relaxed. Like you understand that this is two different hair. And you start showing up differently. You start loving your hair, seeing it differently, and treating it differently. I came a very long way. I was one that I wanted to change my hair so bad. I was like, why do I have this hair? What do I do with it? Like it's all the things that was thrown at me. It's nappy, it's hard. My mom used to call it a Brillo pad. It was the name for it. And for me to sit here and love my hair and even create a platform around my hair.
Yes.
That's the part that makes me so proud. Like, wow, Jen, not only have you conquered this curse, but you're spreading a different message of loving and accepting and showing up with it. And you talked about what we can do moving forward. And I think what we can do is really showing up
Yes.
as
Yeah.
ourselves in all areas of our life.
In different spaces. Yes.
Exactly. Every single space that you show up, you should show up as yourself. And I mean, of course, people are going to argue, but I like the wig or whatever. Yeah, you can do whatever you want to do still,
Yeah.
but not hating parts of
Right.
you
Yeah.
navigate through life. I think that's what sets you free.
Yep. It does.
Okay. Do you all feel the false eyelashes and heavy use of oh Lord is first no different than the embracing of natural hair? Again, societal definition expectations. I will keep this one very short. Because another thing that I do try to enforce on my channel is you are beautiful, number one, fully clothed, and you are beautiful with just your natural beauty. I think for a lot of women, and this is actually not just Black women, but this is what we are focused on. When it comes to the eyelashes, the makeup, I think we are getting to the point where young women are beginning to look like cartoon characters. I think we are getting to the point where people are starting to look like characters of themselves. I think it's a little much. That's my piece on that.
Well, I mean, I think it goes back to social media being a blessing curse, right?
It does.
Because you think about a young mind that is still absorbing all this information now. It can't even really
Impressionable,
process
right.
it all, but it's all at their fingertips. So it's going off the rail. Because you think about when I grew up, yeah, my mom wore makeup, but I wasn't bombarded by imagery of women all across the globe with heavy face of makeup. So it does affect how it shapes you.
Yeah, I think makeup and all the additions start to, I don't want to say problematic, but for me, it does become problematic when you now do not look anything like what you truly are. Because makeup, like you're saying, Maya, if you want to wear makeup, if you don't want to wear makeup,
right.
That's a personal
choice. It's supposed to
enhance
your natural beauty. Right.
Yes. So if it's doing more than enhancing and making you look totally different from who you are, then, that becomes a bit.
That's a problem. And also, if you see yourself without makeup, then that's a problem.
Yes. I've got friends that can't leave the house without makeup.
They can't leave the house without makeup. Yes.
That becomes a problem. Yeah.
That is a problem. I mean, I feel like I see both sides. Like, I actually really do enjoy playing with makeup. Like, I do see it as a form of like self-care.
I mean, I'm wearing makeup right now. I love it, girl.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna sit here and be like, I woke up like this.
No, I absolutely did not. But the way I woke up, I love her too.
But I mean, like, I don't feel like I have to wear it to look good. Like, I'm no longer at the stage where like, I was going to the gym in makeup. Like, that's crazy. Like, younger me, like early 20s, even teens, was in that space because I had like a lot of acne at the time, and I was just trying to cover it on up. And also in a different place, self-confidence, self-esteem wise. But I feel like, like just remembering that some of these young girls are still in that space of where they're just like trying to figure themselves out. They're kind of like stumbling through life in their own skin. So, I mean, I wear false eyelashes. I think it's fun every now and then. I don't have to live in it every day though. So, I mean, it's a problem when you have to be like that. Like, you don't feel good unless you have it on. That is a problem for sure. 100%.
So I think Tanya more so is talking about in excess. So I will give the example of the eyelashes. I have seen young women where I just kind of wonder, like, can you see me? Because it's like the eyelashes are like touching. They're like touching.
And that's
like,
that's ridiculous.
Can you see me? And it's just, I mean, it's just, I think what Tanya's getting at is the excess. There's nothing wrong with the make. I have on, what is this, mascara? Yeah, I have on mascara. That's really about all I personally can do. I've tried hopping on YouTube University and I look like a raccoon. So it's just not for me. But I think what Tanya was basically saying is just the in excess.
Yeah.
Well, I think it ties into a level of just self-love, self-acceptance, self-confidence. The more you feel you have to hide yourself, your hair, your skin, then the more there's a problem.
Okay. Next, I believe that is Simone. Have you had an amicable conversation with an older person regarding being natural? With all respect, sometimes they're the hardest to talk to. So
it's a question for Jen.
Girl, I'm fighting for my life out here, but I'm
I feel like I can say that. Like I'm an honorary Haitian.
So,
Yeah, I constantly have conversation with older people about my natural hair. I'll give you a story. I recently got married, well, almost 2 years ago now, but it was a huge conversation around Jennifer. What are you gonna do with your hair for the wedding? It was that question over and over, and I was like,
that was brought up to me too.
Mhm.
Yep.
I'm gonna wear my natural hair.
Did they clutch their pearls?
No, it really was. It was like, what? Your hair like that to the
Yes.
whole conversation all over again. I felt like it was really going into like younger Jen, which is that same conversation.
It
What
was
do you
bringing you back to that space.
Yeah, it really was bringing back to that space, but I was like, I have to fight for it, right? I was like, well, now I have to rebel, even if I wasn't gonna wear my natural hair, but now I must. But I had already planned for it that I wanted to show up as myself, right? And I'm marrying this man who has already accepted me as myself. I don't need to do some craziness for the wedding because somebody else feels like it. So these conversations are always very difficult, and because the if it's family member, it's even more difficult because they help
Yeah.
raise, they shaped the mindset that we used to have. Well, hopefully you're not in that space anymore, but even if you are out of that space, it's still like a trigger. So every
Yeah.
time I'm in these conversations with the older family members, and they're set in their ways, you have to it's almost like a boundary thing now. Sometimes I get to a point in the conversation, I'm like, okay, well, I understand what you're talking about, and I'm just going to see
Bow out. Respectfully, I'm going to bow out.
well,
Right.
exactly.
Because you are an elder. Yeah.
You don't need to keep doing this because I'm gonna beat your ass. I'm kidding.
Elder abuse.
I'm joking, but it really it gets to a point where you have to draw a line because these conversations can get very difficult to navigate with someone who doesn't see your point of view at
Doesn't
all,
see it.
and someone that was raised in a different world or a different environment that shaped their mindset around natural hair.
So for me, and you, as far as conversation with older women, especially with older Black women, I've had the complete opposite. So whenever someone is having a conversation, an older Black woman, like someone like my grandma, when we're having a conversation about natural hair, it's a very short conversation because their response is, well, you don't count because you have good hair. And again, them being raised like my father's mother, she said the exact same thing. My grandma again is Jamaican on my mother's side, so for me it's a very complete opposite conversation. It's very short and they cut me off. They're like, well, yeah, you don't count. And that's really, for me, that's the conversation. It typically doesn't go past 5 minutes.
Yeah, I haven't really had that convo because, like, I mean, the people in my life. So my family's from the Caribbean as well. They're from St. Vincent, and again, like, I think people are actually more inspired and excited that my hair actually retained length, because no, like, we all have this fine, highly textured 4C hair that breaks off very easily. So for them, it's like, well, how did you do it? Oh, I'm not doing all that. That's too much work, type thing. So I'm not really arguing with people about my hair. I don't have much to add to that, so I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
I haven't had that convo with elders.
Well, I just want to add one thing from my experience where I think a lot of hate that I've also gotten when I started to wear my natural hair came from Black women. And it's very, and
Yes.
we all have a similar experience. So it's very interesting navigating that space and even hearing from your experience with your grandmother saying, oh, well, you're not even you don't know this story. I think that's a very interesting point of view.
Totally. I agree. Someone here in the comment section says, my elders were against my hair until all of them started going bald. They're all natural now.
That's what it is. When you start wearing your hair and you start showing up and your hair's looking good, they start asking you a question. That's the part that sometimes I'm like, I don't even want to tell you what you put me through. And now you want hair advice, the irony. And I think for me, because I have shrinkage, it took a while because, they want to see length. So if you're not growing, whatever you're doing is not working. So it's like, well, your hair still looks short. And then like my mom will pull on it and she's like, oh, your hair is so long. What did you do? It's like, wow. I'm not telling.
All right. From Mac, do you ladies think you should educate your significant other about black hair if they are of a different race? Oh Lord, Mac. That's
Ooh,
It
heavy.
depends on the relationship you have, but
that's a good question, but I can't answer that.
okay. Well, I'm
Um,
gonna say if you plan on having children, I think you should.
you know what?
Yeah.
You know what? Am I getting ready to go there? Okay, I'm just gonna go there.
I was just gonna leave that
So
there. You know, like
Be
I'm just
careful
gonna go
now.
there, and I'm gonna be
I don't
careful, but
know.
I'm gonna be careful. So
Okay. Because you don't know people's relationships, and like it's
right, you don't know people's relationships, but
what
I think where Jen was going with that, or I think where Mac is going with that. What we see a lot is we typically have black men and white women.
Mm,
They have biracial children.
mm,
Right. Okay. She's you know, this is life. So the white mom, there's going to be a learning curve there, right?
yeah.
There's going to be a learning curve, even if you have a black woman with a white man. Like you said, Jen, it depends on the relationship. If this is, you know, y'all met at a club, hey, how you doing, and y'all do what you do, fine. But if y'all are going to be in a committed relationship,
Mm.
girlfriend, boyfriend, fiance, married,
Marriage.
there might have to be a conversation there, simply just because it's going to be different.
Yeah. No, I think
And
absolutely there needs to be a
I
conversation.
think there's going to have to be a conversation.
And
I
my
think there
experience
is.
as well, because I've well, it's a very interesting situation, but I don't need to give you the whole backstory. But ultimately, there was a Jamaican man who dated a white woman. They had a daughter. Obviously, she had a lot of
Right. Yeah.
a lot of curly hair, and I randomly met this woman. She was like a massage therapist. That's how I met her, and she was like, "You do hair?" Because I would always show up with my hair done in all kind of ways. And she asked me about the braids, and I thought it was really weird. She was asking me a lot of questions. She was like, "Well, no, would you be willing to do my daughter's hair?" And I was like, "Well, it depends on how much you want to pay me." So we had the whole conversation, and I heard her story, and I don't know, I felt like it resonated with me. Like this little girl is basically suffering because this white woman who
Right.
was a black guy and had a
Right.
child has
Yeah.
no clue what to do with her hair. So I went a few times and basically, I guess, helped out and showed her what I did. Hopefully, I don't know. I don't know what happened with that situation, but all that to say, it's a situation, it's a reality.
It's
Where
a reality. Yeah.
a child that's she would have she wouldn't have grown up with a lot of information on what to do with her hair, but she's still young. She was, I don't know, maybe 8 to 10 years old or something like that, going through that experience of her mother not having any idea what to do.
Right.
So had this conversation happened, maybe this woman would have been better equipped to, I don't know, handle her daughter's hair. I don't know.
Can
I
I
think
just
that's a mandatory conversation. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know how you would
Yeah.
be black and not have that convo. Like,
It's so
it's
deeply
different.
rooted. It's not just hair.
It's not just hair. Like, if you see somebody and they've got a fro, that is the number one indication. Light skin, dark skin, middle skin, whatever skin you want to be, that
Middle
you have
skin.
some black in you.
obvious.
Like
Yeah,
a
features.
fro, like that's the defining feature, right? So, like, if
Yeah.
you're with somebody and they don't have that hair type, like the same way we struggle through it with YouTube University, imagine them. Like,
Yeah.
education is power. Like, I don't see how that relationship would work if we can't talk about hair and you don't understand why there's all these nuances to it in my community. Then I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, maybe that's just like a fun time at night and just move on. I don't know.
Yeah. I was actually going to have a counter question and say, why is this not obvious to actually talk about the
You
differences that we actually are? Our
you
differences
be
make us beautiful, so it shouldn't be something that we shun away from. I expect a massage in this hair. If we're going to be an item, you know, you should really get into it. It's a sexy thing. Like,
you'd be
what are you
surprised. I mean,
talking about?
you'd be surprised. What? You'd
Well, I
be
think
surprised.
that's another
That
key word.
conversation does not happen.
Men are very
No.
conditioned though to like avoid women's hair, so that could be something where a
That could be
conversation needs to
that
happen.
could be part of it as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right, ladies, it is 10:02. I want to thank everybody who tuned in. I will put this on my channel, so whoever's not able to be here is going to be able to watch. I want to thank you, Jen. I want to thank you, Pete. I want to thank you, Lavinia. I think we had a very, very good conversation. That's really what I have to say. Like I said, I want to respect everybody's time. So I think with that, as I said, I am very grateful. I think we had a very good conversation. If any of you have any last comments, if not, then we can go ahead and end the stream.
Thank you. No, just thank you to you for bringing us all together, and thanks for all the comments and the laughs. I think everyone's gonna feel empowered, enlightened, feel like part of a community after this.
I hope somebody comes away with this. Okay, Jen, you have anything?
Well, I hope that someone takes some positivity out of this conversation. I think us talking about it, showing up, and being ourselves is how we change the narrative. Even I think one of you ladies mentioned you could be doing something really small and you feel like it's insignificant, but it really isn't in the grand scheme of things. So I had a blast. Thank you for inviting me on your
Of course,
channel.
Absolutely.
And shamelessly shout myself out, Jen Jackson on YouTube.
I'm gonna put all of y'all stuff in.
Of course.
I'm gonna plug everybody, because
better plug us all.
I really appreciate y'all. Lavinia, do you have anything?
Yeah, this was fantastic. Thank you so much, Maya, Classically Kept, for bringing us all together, and the chat for keeping it so interesting. Like, there were just so many angles to that, and it's because of the amazing work that these ladies have done on this page, and even in the chat. So I guess my last final words is just work on yourself. Like, I don't want it to sound like it's the easiest thing in the world to just wake up and now you're like, oh, I love myself and everything is no, it's real work, right? And we're all on different levels of that continuum. And yeah, like, if I keep talking about fine hair because like it really is a thing as it relates to just trying to figure out like how to deal with like the natural hair advice. It doesn't really always apply to fine hair. And so yeah, I don't know if that's a shameless plug or if that's more beneficial, valuable. I hope it's more beneficial and valuable. It could be a shameless plug too, aligned with Jen Jackson.
No shame in the shame.
No shame in the shame. Fine natural hair rocks, but yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Thank you so much, Maya.
Autumn, please do this again. This was fun, but we will see. I'm not going to promise anything. All of these ladies are busy. I know everybody in the chat is busy. I think we have great chemistry, but Autumn, we will see. Schedules, kids,
Maya,
husbands,
it's a relationship. Just stop it. She's like,
we're in a relationship. We're in a relationship now.
Oh, we're in a relationship. You guys are trying to date me. I'm married. I'm sorry.
She taken.
Okay. Autumn, I see you. I hear you. That will have to be a behind the scenes conversation. But ladies, like I said, I want to respect everybody's time. So I will, because this is my first time, so I will get this up on YouTube as soon as I can. Thank you so much. And I'm going to say good night to everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Good night, everybody. Bye.